Right, so what do we do with these other columns? Well, we did just like we did in class. You want to figure out what the put option is worth at the end. Our strike was 1875. If the price fell 1973, then the S&P ended at 1879. Our strike was 1875, so we're not going to get anything out of that option. Y'all remember this formula, right? The max of the strike minus the actual value. So the D3 was the strike price repicked. The B11's that price we just came up with, 0. So here we can get 0 times our number of contracts times 100 minus the cost of the put. Since the puts cost 4,900, we're going to see 4,900 a lot all the way down here. Here's a time where it doesn't help us very much, right? But in 2002 it helped us in the dot-com crash, and obviously in 2008 is going to help us a lot. There's one problem with the history pick. We probably should go back to the 70s because the 80s and 90s were such incredibly great years for stocks that this strategy doesn't look too good with the 80s and 90s. So you're probably not going to get the greatest strategy you can find. If you just do the last 20 years, it looks wonderful. But anyway, so there's our puts. The call options, the exact same thing. It's max, but here you do what the actual market is minus your strike in 0 times the number of contract times 100. Minus this, but it's minus all of that. So this last one you're actually receiving. So it's the same formula as the puts, except for you switch the strike and the actual price. And since you're selling the calls, you start with a minus sign. All right. So your traditional portfolio. So you're going to take your beginning portfolio, $1 million, times 40% times your return from the stock market, plus your beginning portfolio times 60% because you have 60% in bonds, times your beginning portfolio, plus your beginning portfolio. So you're essentially, you lost 8.5%, you made 8.2%, you got 40% there. So if you take 40% times that, plus 60% times that, your portfolio should have gone up $1 million times 1 plus that. Your portfolio should be 101490 980. All right, so that's what I do there. Get my ending portfolio, and then what's the return on that portfolio? So that's pretty straightforward. You just take the ending portfolio divided by the beginning portfolio minus 1. So those are returns I would have made. And then here's my option portfolio. I take beginning portfolio. Remember, I'm 100% in stocks. So beginning portfolio plus the stock market. So I'm going to lose 9% there. And then I add back in the puts and the call. And it gives me that, and that tells me a return on the portfolio. And we're getting really horrible results, aren't we? So this isn't working very well, but you can test it. So what could we test? So let's make sure right there, everybody see any question on any of these columns. I've shown y'all this formula several times in class, the max, so you just build that. And make sure you see I'm using B11. B11 is the price only one. So make sure on the options, both the call and the put, that you're using the price only one. All right. Now this is a terrible strategy. It's not very well thought out. So what could we change? Well, we could change our put strike. So why don't we try, instead of 1875, why don't we try 1700? What's that going to do to our puts? It can make them a lot cheaper. So let's try 1700 on the puts, just to see. That drops it down to 48.80. And now you see that my puts and my calls almost cancel each other out. So that's pretty cool. Let's see what that does to our results. Getting a little bit better, but still not so great. What if you increase? Well, part of it is this downside. So what if we, instead of doing that, what if we do 5%? 1975. That's going to obviously make it much more expensive. $109. again, doesn't look too great. So you may find this, and again, I think it's because you have the 80s and 90s in there. All right, so what else could you do? Well, remember in class we did it, we just puts only. So you see, if you have it set up right, you can really change this pretty well. So what we do, puts only, go back to the 90%. So what was it, 1875? I forget what the price for that was. We can go back and find it. It was 90 something. 1875, or no, 8180. So here you can see the calls completely wipe out. It's going to bring my return up quite a bit, but I still have, it's pretty bad on the downside. So just test. You don't have to find something that works. What you need to do is just test what strategies make sense. And here's one where, really testing a much lower strike, like 1975, might actually make some sense. What was that, 109, I think we said? Because if you think about it, yeah, it's giving you, because it's so expensive, the puts are so expensive. If you think about it though, you're getting the huge advantage of if you have 100% in stocks and during a really strong stock market. But those options are costing you 5% of your portfolios, so that's just killer there. That's what's the weakest part of the strategy. Now you could try a traditional caller. Do 5 and 5, so you do 5% out there. This is a terrible strategy for a year, so I wouldn't try that for a year. So maybe 15% on the upside, so maybe 2,400 on the calls. Let's see if there's even a strike there. 2,400, 880. That's probably not going to help you too much. Yeah, that's definitely not going to help you. That's going to look pretty pathetic. All right, so that's it. It's not looking too great because we have the 80s and 90s in there. I should have taken it back to the 70s. And you could, if you wanted to. There's no reason why you got to start in 1980. I gave you bond returns back to 1928, so you can go back pretty. Huh?
Where'd you find those bond returns?
Just off the internet. This is definitely coming from Roger Ibbotson. Anytime you see 1928, it's his stuff. Someone just took his annual yearbook and just put it out on the internet for free. He's probably not too excited about that. But